recently, which, hey, I mean, he's done ridiculously well for himself. But yeah, Reynor is he is a ridiculously damn good foreigner, one of the best foreigners of all time, and it's going to be really hard to beat him.
Yeah, it will. But let's see if this guy can do it. Spawning on Cosmic Sapphire in the bottom right, he is the red Protoss, GunGFuBanDa.
And spawning over in the top left, representing Kaiser Gaming, it is Reynor.
Yeah, I feel like Reynor has actually been under-discussed. It feels like, well, we did that thing where we have the favorites. So unless there's something really weird going on as far as their losses go, we don't necessarily bring them up. So we didn't really talk maybe all that much about Serral. We kind of assumed he was going to win until he lost to Geralt. Same for Clem. I don't think we actually would have been too concerned about Clem if he had not lost so many matches in the group stage, right? Unexpected. So Reynor kind of did as expected in his group stage, then lost to a Laser who was on that really amazing hot streak in his group. And we were like, okay, yeah. But we haven't done the usual spiel. Usual, like, wow, Reynor is so amazing. He's definitely going to top his group. He's definitely going to get to the finals of the playoffs. He's amazing. But, we can. We have a whole best of 5 where, especially if he starts winning from the get-go, we can just fall in love with Reynor's Zerg all over again.
Yeah, this season has been topsy-turvy in terms of, like, all the top dogs have shown that they can bleed at least a little bit, like, even when they win. So Hero Marine hasn't dropped a series. It still hasn't looked super convincing, right? Like, up until Serral's last series against Geralt, I was like, okay, he's looking pretty solid. Like, I know Showtime really pushed him and stuff in his series, but, over the last few months, you can always count on Serral, it feels like. But I really do believe that this season is as open as it's ever been. Like, the top 3 before, it's felt like it's so locked in that when, like, Lambo defeats the Serral, it's like, oh my god, what happened? But now I really feel that any one of them can almost lose to anybody else in the top 10.
It's feeling a little bit more like that. And we also can't forget, I don't think most people have, but maybe, that Serral didn't actually make it to the top 4 of the last regionals, right? So he wasn't going to be, seated into Valencia. He wasn't going to get his flight and his hotel paid for. But then he also didn't go because of some personal reasons. But yeah, that was the big shock for Serral. And that will be definitely something we're talking about in our next series, which will be the final series, Serral versus Clem. But yeah, for the rest of the top dogs, they also have bled. And while usually they perform in the actual playoffs, they do situate themselves as, top 3. It's not a guarantee anymore.
No, it certainly isn't. I mean, this man here spawning in the as the red Protoss, he's already shown that some of the big players can bleed. Like, he beat Clem. He beat MaxPax as well, really, really importantly. Because MaxPax has been arguably one of the best PvPers on the planet for quite some time. So GunGFu already showing that his PvP and his PvT are pretty damn top-notch. And here, he's going for a 4-gate Adept play. You've seen this quite a bit on this map, but it does feel like the Protossers do like it here.
See if it's going to surprise Reynor, who's already picking up on the fact that it's not a Stargate opening, just with the lack of any Stargate unit presence. Stalker looked around for an Overlord that actually was not on that main base anyways. It's over to the left side. Scouting right now just for what's being worked on the gateways and also the gas geysers. But kind of, if you take away the option of a Stargate opener, what are you really left with? Not usually a robo opener, I can tell you that much. So usually Resident Enclaves. We did see Skillus earlier today go for a Dark Shrine, so that could also be somewhat on Reynor's mind, and it should be just a follow-up, because it is possible, and it's actually what's happening right here, right now. But clearly Reynor has picked up on the Adepts. He is getting a Roach Warren. He's already getting a good number of Lings. He has stopped his droning, actually pretty early on, in fact. But that should mean he's prepared for the actual attack.
Yeah, he's respecting this a lot. Like, there's been a lot of kooky Protoss builds recently, like the Blink TTs, we saw them with Strange and what have you. But so far, GunGFu's just kind of fighting against the Queens, which is exactly what Reynor would like. But we do know that there is a cheeky follow-up from GunGFu. No third going down yet for GunGFu either, so this is strangely committed from him, and he's just hoping to throw Reynor off a little bit.
Probably going to grab it after he actually morphs in these ETs. which, yeah, the lack of third should be a little sus. You kind of have to combine, I suppose, the lack of third with how many adepts have actually tried to attack me, which is really not a lot. In fact, these adepts just pulled back, and that's something that Reynor was able to see. So, again, if he wasn't already kind of wary of it, acknowledging the idea of it, then he should actually be, now physically preparing for it. This was one of the first spore crawlers he actually made, so this was prepared from the get-go. Just one hot second of protecting the spore just to make sure it can't be dove on, and then that's kind of it. Back to droning, which Reynor really does need to do, because he did cut the drones fairly early on. So yes, GunGFu is later third base, but Reynor still needs to recover some of that lack of droning from earlier on, which he's now doing.
GunGFu's being so careful with all his shades, and I like it by him. Like, he's always shading back to base when he moves out. Even with like the first two adepts that kind of moved out, just being careful with them, and I like it a lot from him. It saved this third base here in this situation, and just keeps his opponent on their toes kind of thing. And now he's going into like double Archon. There's a fourth base over there too, so might be able to get the cancel on that. So far, he's just playing a solid game. Like, no super cheeky shenanigans so far.
Well, not really. Even with kind of a cheeky opener, he's used it in one of the most mild ways possible. You know, there is certainly potential from the DTs if Reynor really was going to be so focused in on the adepts that he just kind of forgot that they were an option. But Reynor did not do that, is handling things well, but GunGFu, didn't just fully commit to this and kind of force the issue when it wasn't going to work out. So now just going for some Archon drops, a little bit of missed micro though, headed right into the Spore Crawler for about a maximum length of time. And now GunGFu is going into Blink and a Robotics Bay, which Reynor probably just saw. He's got changing in the main as well, so yes, he's known all about that. And now we get into the mid game, which, GunGFu is doing a great job being, I guess, safe, kind of getting to his what he wanted, 3-base setup, technology on the way. But Reynor feels like as soon as that DT thing was taken care of, that's when I'm expecting Reynor to just explode. Just to like drone, army, multitasking, and this is going to be the real test for GunGFu. Can he handle that?
Yeah, it definitely will be. He is a little bit supply blocked right now, just did his war pins and whatnot. But Reynor's got himself up to a really nice drone count here. Also, the drone pulling from Reynor at every point, it's been really good. Like, even the first 3 DTs that moved in to get the spore, a nice little surround there, did keep it alive. And I'm worried for GunGFu in this series. I really am, because Reynor, even though he's been a bit quiet, which is weird to say. Like, when we do talk about favorites, you said at the start, it's not been clear cut that, he's definitely, like, who's Reynor going to play in the final almost. It is a question of whether he's going to get there, but when you do see that he is playing a game like this, you can really tell that he's been very good for a reason, and it's because he's insanely fast.
Yeah. There is a little bit to be said about his, I guess, demeanor. Presence, maybe is the better word, presence online. For the last couple of months, I suppose, because certainly, lack of interviews perhaps will contribute to this, or just, again, the kind of expectation we had where he would just do well in his groups. We didn't talk much about it. But I think Reynor has also kind of been taking any losses more to heart recently. Not as, I guess, sure of himself. Still pretty confident, of course, and some might even say arrogant, but just not quite as much, and very focused on doing just the best game possible. So, yeah, a little bit quieter, actually. But doesn't mean that he's worse. Absolutely not. In fact, it might even mean that he's better, more focused, more passionate about actually getting to those finals and winning them once again, as he has done before, just not as many times as he was hoping for.
Yeah, GunGFu definitely active on the map with a few units here. Like, he's been doing a good job of trying to cut down the creep spread at multiple moments. Reynor is maxed out, the mutas are on the field, and GunGFu looks like he's sort of prepared to deal with, but he is supply blocked again. This is kind of the second or third time this game thus far. So it's definitely a bit tricky for him to keep up, and Reynor, like, he is ready for a fight already.
Yes, he is. He is almost maxed out, catches one of the disruptors. Whoa, okay, and, well, pretty much successfully splits from the second one. Third one doesn't get anything either, so he is once again ready to go. And that was really all that was stopping him, was the disruptor shots. Got to make sure you take care of that. But now that that's done with, he can focus again on harassment. So Ling's on the fourth base. Muta's still dealing damage in the main and natural. A stacked defense was just shy of actually finalizing. That would have helped a lot if it was done from the get-go. So 15 probes doesn't sound too bad. Fourth base will live, but Reynor, the real attack is about to hit. And this is always getting Hive, by the way.
Oh, yeah, like he's on 79 drones, a really good drone count, a really good army as well. It's got the Ravagers mixed in as well, so the force fields, what can they do? Nice disrupt usage with the Warp Prism. Lovely splits, though. Lovely. And the Banelings, look at that. I love that. Great force fields to save all those pros from those Banelings.
That is pretty darn cool. I do believe that it stopped him from microing his disruptors for a hot second, but that's, you know, there's too many things to do, basically. GunGFu, he's going to hold, but takes a lot of losses. He's still only, with the save on the probes, still only on 54 probes as well. I mean, Reynor still has the commanding presence in the game. Up 80 supply, again, working on that Hive, went immediately into +2 melee as soon as that +1 was done. And the mutas are even still alive, so they're still being a nuisance. At the very least, they can help out in like run-bys or Warp Prism harassment, right? And just go back into the main base.
Yeah, those mutas, like behind enemy lines, just dealing so much damage. But this was, if you compare this game to that Skillless Laser series earlier, this just feels like this packed so much more of a punch. This attack from Reynor, and the fact that behind it he's super greedy as well. Just well played by Reynor. Really went full wrecking ball this game.
Yeah, it felt like, well, GunGFu, you could say, didn't really do anything terribly wrong. I mean, you can definitely say that not doing damage with the Adepts and not doing damage with the DTs is bad, because it is. But that's not to say, like, terribly wrong. Reynor just looked like this was another day at the office. And by that, I mean he played pretty perfect ZVP, so that when he just rolls up with 50 more army supply and wins pretty much with the first engagement, you're like, yeah, okay. It's almost non-impressive with how just mundane the game was, despite it just being a real testament to Reynor's strength.
Sometimes when games go so according to plan that, yeah, it feels a bit like, oh, well, what did they do? He did so much special that game. Like, all the defense that he did where he didn't take any damage, it's pretty hard to do that. Like, it's really hard to do that, actually. And GunGFu, it wasn't through lack of trying. He was active on the map a lot. It's just everything got shut down. Definitely a few little macro blunders with some of the supply blocks and stuff, but honestly, GunGFu played a pretty decent game overall. Maybe you could say the lack of the Muta Scout bit him in the butt a little bit, but yeah, I'm gonna look at that force field of the probe saving all their life as really cool. Kind of almost brings me back to the Naniwa days on I think it was like Shakura's Plateau, where he blinks up to the high ground, then force fields off kind of thing. It was super cool. But yeah, first game, if GunGFu is a player that suffers from nerves, which I know he's said a few things in the past. In fact, there was one interview where I was like, were you scared of playing it in Slambo? And he's like, no, I'm terrified. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so funny. But yeah, I think he is a player that can suffer with the nerves a little bit, but he's got nothing to lose at this point. I think so far that was a decent showing from him in game one.
Yeah, decent. Yeah, maybe some improvements on, like you were talking about, the supply blocks, certainly. Hey, they weren't the worst ones. I noticed that he would, usually be able to spend his bank on the next warp in, but yeah, definitely existed. And then, I don't know, maybe something that is a little bit spicier, because it kind of felt like GunGFu didn't have much potential in anything. So we weren't kind of sitting there being like, oh, if only he did this, or oh man, if only there was that. It was like, well, he did the thing and it was okay and he's fine and he lives, but okay, let's move on. And all that was in favor to Reynor, who was setting up such a powerful Zerg economy and Zerg army. Game number 2 is going to be on Moondance. In the bottom right, we do have the red Protoss, GunGFuBanDa.
And spawning over in the top left, it is Reynor. On paper, definitely one of the more one-sided matchups today, given that GunGFu isn't very often here in the winner bracket. Reynor is an absolute mainstay. But GunGFu this season absolutely deserves to be where he is. He had an absolutely flawless group stage where he took down a lot of favorites, a lot of players that were considered better than him. And yeah, walked out of the group with a 6-1 score, and that group had players like Clem and Maxpax in it, so it wasn't easy whatsoever.
No, it was definitely not easy, but it wasn't a full test without that Zerg presence. It's the only thing.
Yeah, if you want to win a tournament these days, you have to beat a Zerg at some point. You absolutely have to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and of course their history together as well doesn't bode well for GunGFu, who again lost the last 12 series, also only won 4 games in all of those. I will say, in addition to that fact, the last time they played was a year ago.
Oh.
So, you know, this is kind of a new and improved GunGFu, even though, again, there are no Zergs in the group. That still is an undeniably fantastic show from GunGFu. So I'd say he's better than ever before. But I would say that Reynor is too. I don't think Reynor ever really stops improving. I think he takes some time off sometimes, or maybe kind of does other things like play Protoss, you know, and all that good stuff.
League,
but yeah, or League, exactly. But I think there are more times and more like invested time when he decides, you know what, no, I'm gonna win. Like Reynor's really quite serious about it.
And also, like, Reynor's strength isn't like strategic play. Reynor's strength is mechanic play. So like, if he sees somebody do something and makes a style work, he can potentially take that on and do it better. So like, very often it's about figuring things out, what's comfortable for him, and then working with it, because speed-wise, it's second to none. Like, even here, just use it. You can see GunGFu laughing at the fact that Reynor managed to block that probe like he did, stop the pylon from even going down. It's just the little things that Reynor does better than most people. Built different, as he'd say.
Yeah, and you remind me of a point I was going to bring up earlier when you were talking about kind of, you know, it looked mundane, but really Reynor was doing a lot of just really fantastic things. Even the Adepts that kept on poking forward. Oh, he gets a full surround of the Adepts. Oh no. Oh,
with the minimal amount of units that he could, it was just like 3 drones doing it, not overdoing it. So every little skirmish that happens, it's just good. But GunGFu is going for a Stargate opening this game, so already a very different opening from him.
True. Back to the classic opener, of course, but still different. But right, the Adepts that kept on moving out to clear up creep last game, I thought that was really cool from GunGFu, and I think that really would have bothered or caught a Zerg off guard. Maybe even they lose some queens to it a couple of times. Reynor was always there replanting creep before the creep dissipated. Is the really obnoxious thing. So you just felt like you weren't doing anything. you were stopping it, but you weren't getting rid of it.
You know, like creep spread at its current moment in time, you know, it recedes like twice as fast as it used to, or something like that as well. Yeah. The amount of emails that I sent to David Kim, like for so many years, something ago, I was like, make creep spread go, like, make it go faster, like make it go like recede a lot faster. But no reply, just into the void. But this Oracle will get into the main, is greeted by 3 queens, and the Oracle had no fear.
No, it didn't. And there's no Spore Crawler, I guess. Did misfire, so probably should have gotten a 3rd drone, I guess, but not that it could have asked for much more. Kind of emphasis on keeping it alive and pairing up with other Oracle buddies. Alive. Yeah, it's alive. And GunGFu has taken that back base as his 3rd. No fear of Reynor run-bys usually when you do this.
Yeah. Like the back 3rd it's a nice move for Protosses on this map. Like, you don't need to build as many Adepts here to keep it alive. You don't have to worry about keeping an Oracle back home either. It's just like, keep that natural walled up and you're groovy. Granted, it's half a base when it comes to the gas count, but very often Protosses don't have to go up to the 5th gas anyway in this matchup, or at least not super damn quickly. And we do see that the tech is coming online now for him. Got Twilight Council, Forge on the way as well. So far, lots of queens in the right positions for Reynor, and he's not really taking too much drone damage thus far.
Yeah, not too much. GunGFu is going to try and hit him 2 places at once, but denied in the main base very quickly. In the natural, he does manage to get 1 Adept, kind of in a neat position, but doesn't want to get caught. So, yeah, that's not going to result in too many drone kills. I also hate it, I guess, when the Adepts, they get caught almost mid-swing, and then they just freak out. They don't even do the swing, so it misses out on even an opportunity to grab 1 or 2 more drones. At least he saves all 3 Oracles.
They are all so battered and bruised, though. It's like, what do they do at this point? They're going to fly on out of there, and it's like, do we ever poke in again? I don't know if they... he went for it, but Reynor, again, just with the queen in the right position at the right time. This game, Reynor's going for not the melee upgrade, more the range missile upgrade, which is more a page out of Cyril's book, actually. And I do like this kind of play. I always kind of question myself when I see Cyril doing these kind of things and not that many other Zergs follow suit. I'm always curious why.
Yes, and I guess you'd have to ask him directly before I start hypothesizing, but yeah, I actually just want to ask, because I really am fond of the +1 melee fast, but especially against what GunGfu is going to be doing, which of course I guess Reynor didn't technically know about until just now. It's always a, you know, with the current meta, those 3 oracles do often lead into stalkers, but not always. But the Overseer just got in, not just saw that it was stalkers, but it also saw the mass amount of gateways that was finishing up with no 4th base yet present. Reynor does have to be a little wary of some type of 3-base attack, but a little wary. I mean, he's actually already on 79 drones, so I don't think it would have mattered. If GunGfu had tried to attack at this point, Reynor would have been producing army as GunGfu moved out in the map. Would not have turned very pretty. And now, it's just Reynor gets to make units to go attack GunGfu. So GunGfu, you're going to have 8 gateways worth of stalker production to use defensively. Hopefully, it's really good use.
Yeah, and like, the difference with this Roach army as well for Reynor is the fact that it's not a Baneling army with Lings where they're all kind of made to die almost. Like, this has endurance. Like, it's a powerful, ongoing kind of thing. Going for the Colossus tech as well, I think this is going to catch GunGfu so off guard here, Zombie Grub.
Might just. I mean, the Oracle's trying to scout around, also helping to clear out some of the creep. So that's been limited a little bit, but just one more creep tumor would make it halfway across the map. And here's Reynor collecting all of his units, ready to go. Probably going to form a few more Ravagers, perhaps. And the army supplies, currently not looking so hot for GunGfu. Both on equal upgrades, but Reynor has double the army supply, only 1 shield battery. And if he wants to stay at 3 Ravagers, then okay, that's going to take down 1 sack defense, right? Which might just be all he needs. He is coming in before all of his armies prepared, before his queens are over here. He has pulled those as well. This is just the first attack of probably very many. GunGfu going to pop the overcharge, bring in the oracles as well. And the queens aren't there to help out. The queens kind of went the wrong direction. And certainly, all things considered, this was handled rather nicely, rather patiently. Good force fields, and it's still not over, but first step, survival. GunGfu survived.
Wave 1, not bad at all. And that Colossus count will keep on growing. And Colossus, even though they're not the best, they're absolutely better than nothing. The thing is, I'm scared for the next waves on the go. We've got Tunneling Claws coming out, Burrow on the way as well, +2 ranged missiles coming online as well. And Reynor's army, he's lost units, but he's still at 200 supply. And he's greedy behind all of this as well.
And I think that's going to bode well, because it looks like he's not going to be able to just push GunGfu over. I mean, GunGfu does have the benefit of the base, as well as, the force fields really did help. Just good, calm reaction. So, well, a little late to actually taking on the army over here, so loses the Colossus. That actually really sucks, because that would have been perfect for couple force fields. Buy a little bit more time, because there's only so many corrosive vials, right? But then also lose the Colossus on top of that. That is just a really big mistake. Tunneling Claws has been revealed. It's going to be attempted to be taken care of, but too many army units went over to the right side. More are necessary on the front lines, as Reynor actually continuing to push in. Now GunGfu does have a bit of a concave, and if he saves that one more Colossus, then he probably will hold again. But Reynor, 26 roaches behind this. He is going to be potentially getting up to Hive as well. He's got the bank, he's got the infestation pit, and then we're talking about Vipers at that point, right? So there are more threats yet to come here for GunGfu.
Yeah, I mean, GunGfu's holding on really well, though. Let's have a look at the resources lost tab. Reynor definitely losing out a lot more units. Drone count not as crazy far ahead as I dare say he'd like it to be. And he really is throwing everything at GunGfu here, isn't he? Like, absolutely everything. He wants him to fall over at any point here, but GunGfu, he's holding on. And he's getting some big upgrades on the go as well. He's getting charge and +3 weapons. Oh, sad disruptor.
Yeah, GunGfu, I mean, I actually would be really in defense if he had saved that one Colossus, and also maybe just taking a better fight overall when that engagement happened, and just take that disruptor. Then I'd just be like, wow, this is actually super top tier defense, but those 2 mistakes are pretty big ones. They're such an expensive, slow building units. And Reynor, again, like it's not necessarily about can you hold for the next couple of, maybe the next minute rather, but then what's going to happen in that minute, in the second minute, third minute, the fourth minute, as Reynor continues to throw bodies at you, as well as eventually adding on that technology, but looking to at least breathe a little. GunGfu gets a Warp Prism in the back line, some Zealots dropped off, and GunGfu is going to have maybe one more Disruptor thanks to it once they re-engage.
Cybernetics Call will get picked off, but GunGfu is already kind of anticipating this. Does have a second one already more than halfway along the way. Reynor's army still on just Roach Ravager thus far. Does have a Hydrolysis Den done, and a Lurker Den on the way, and Hive just finished up. And he's been a massive fan of just whipping out a few Vipers as soon as he hits Hive. He is supply blocked right now, but I dare say he might try to get rid of a bit of supply just so he can actually get out a few Vipers. And yeah, he does exactly just that.
Right. Yeah, because we are getting to a point where GunGFu is growing a very intimidating army, one that would do well if they know where the roaches are coming in from. He doesn't get super surrounded. So you're going to need something else. You're going to need those Vipers, you're going to need those Lurkers. But Reynor, because he is actually moving on a little bit, what he's doing now is getting rid of supply as necessary and then controlling kind of the flow of battle so that GunGFu doesn't just suddenly appear on his doorstep. So that's exactly what you'd expect from a top-tier Zerg, which means he is going to get to Lurkers, he is going to get to Vipers, and GunGFu might still be able to push out a little bit, but also might want to consider adding on further technology himself. So primarily Templar Archives, right?
Very, very possibly. Like, as soon as Lurkers start coming out, it does become problematic. Like, you do need a higher disruptor count to deal with them. But also, there isn't any meat in this army. Like, this is just pure armored, right? So, like, Lurkers will deal a lot of damage to this. I think Lings also. We see the adrenal glands coming online. If you can get big wraparounds, the AoE damage is sort of lacking against that light armor situation, but GunGFu survived, and he's got himself up to 180 supply here. And we've got to remember, he's been on 4 bases. Like, this is a different map to most maps.
Mm-hmm. Which also means that back base is going to mine out very soon. But GunGFu has done, all the appropriate Protoss things to survive, really. And kudos for that. But now we're going to face late game. So I guess kind of what I've been trying to explain is just like every minute's going to be a test. You don't just get to say, well, I guess I defeated the mid game here, so I'm good to go, right? Which, apparently is a bit of a lasers problem. Once Skillos defeated him in the mid game, Skillos was, well, not quite, sailing away, but he was able to pick up those late game victories. Not really so with a Reynor or a Serral. You got to be scared of them at every single stage. So ideally, you're really going very well at every single stage as well. So you didn't lose a Colossus, you didn't lose a Disruptor. You're also moving on to Stargates or Templars or whatever it is. In this case, he did add on the Templar Archives. Gonna have those feedbacks as well as Storm added in. And Reynor, well, he did make it to Lurkers. He's also looking to get to Greater Spire.
This game's starting to make me think, though, that even if there was a Zerg in his group, he'd have still very potentially finished in first place. He's doing a lot of stuff really well. Like, I think a lot of Protosses would have absolutely fell over this game thus far. Nice shutdown of that Warp Prism, but that army's a scary one. Like, it really is. But Reynor's doing a good job of just trading out his unwanted supply slowly but surely, still being annoying with it. And he is starting to accumulate a bank and a really good army, even a Nidus Worm on the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I always love that addition. Did GunGFu actually see the Lurkers, by the way? Because they were burrowed. I'm not sure the Warp Prism did. And he hasn't actually seen any technology for a long while. He doesn't know about the Hive, or the Aspire, the Lurker Den. He must assume that something is on the way late game, right?
He has to. Like, and what... Like, would you go into Broodlords against this? I mean, I don't know. Like, Broodlords are obviously good against most ground armies, but this one has a lot of anti-air. He has to be thinking something's up. These burrowed roaches have been really annoying, by the way. Like, so good at just kind of slowing down the progress of the bases, but also just they're hard to grab. Okay, now he definitely knows. Now he definitely knows.
That was about 4 seconds before Adaptive Talons finished, which I think would have meant 8 Stalkers lose their lives just in the blink of an eye, but Lurkers were a little slower to burrowing. But yes, of course, now he knows. He's going to try and outmaneuver him by the looks of things, but is about to be outmaneuvered. He's not careful. I don't actually know what's in the Nidus, or maybe nothing, as Reynor kind of is on the ropes. Looks like he's not going to be able to save this base at the very least, and his Zealots are in his back base, at least causing a bit of disruption. There were a couple of Lurkers in the Nidus Worm, and that is really sometimes all it takes. An Overseer is available as well, so DT defense will not cut it, and they also get splashed even if you can't see them. These Lurkers will be taken out, and GunGFu still has a very powerful army, but now his natural and potentially even main base are going to be under some severe threat.
Yeah, I mean, getting back that base is almost impossible, but that's a massive commitment by Reynor. That's like 30 supply in his bases, but it's cleaning up 2 bases at the same time. Granted, both kind of mined out. Well, GunGFu needs to get some damage done ASAP. And Reynor, he's remaxed. He's still got a pretty damn good defensive setup as well. Reynor's playing really solid this game.
Yeah, he is. He's forced to take a little bit more of a defensive stance, but mixing in the Nidus meant that he could do both. Why not both? Defense and offense. And the offense really has spiraled out of control. This was nipped in the bud with the DTs, then that would have been, really, I would have been quite favorable to GunGFu, who would have been total command of this game on the offensive. But with the Overseer available, did not happen. Now this is almost an all-in. Some juicy storms and a very packed-up Zerg army. But now we don't have any more storms available. No feedbacks either. So the Vipers are going to be pretty brutal as they grab every single robo unit, take those down. GunGFu now down 70 supply. Still has not taken care of his natural. And I think we see where this game is going.
I think we certainly do, but... Reynor did this very well. GunGFu's army and his control and stuff, he definitely looked like he was a bit of a bully on the map for a moment, but Reynor just bided his time for this moment here where he just had so much everywhere, and that Nidus... I often forget about the Nidus, but it's games like this that I'm reminded of how powerful they really can be used.
I'm not sure that GunGFu wins if the Nidus doesn't come up, but I really do think that there's so much game left to be played. He was going to be able to bully Reynor a little bit more, just utilizing his range, right? Disrupt their Colossus feedbacks to keep Reynor on his side of the map, and then might have had a successful transition over into air, or outmaneuvered Reynor enough that would have been Reynor defending on 4 bases, and then it would have been quite desperate for him, but no, it turned desperate for GunGFu thanks to that Nidus Swarm, and now he's even desperately trying to use these Stalkers to almost pseudo-base race. Now he's trying to evacuate, but the wrong direction. Oh, and he noticed it as well. Yeah, that's going to be it.
I constantly keep seeing GunGFu smiling away, shaking his head. I think just very impressive, that kind of play, because even if you do practice a lot for a Zerg player, there are some Zergs that do things that seemingly no other Zerg can, and Reynor that game was just clean, that's been my word of today with good plays. That was just phenomenal out of him. Great defense, great offense, really efficient with these Roach squads as well. This wasn't just, I threw away all the supply quickly to remax on something. It was constantly making sure that he was expanding behind it and just getting everything rolling in the right way. Mm-hmm. And then the Nidus, as it got crazy, it wasn't like, I've got the Nidus, I better use it immediately. It was as it got crazy, and then just eked out a few lurkers, got the Overseer over there as well, so the DTs, he thought about what could counter it. Yeah, really good by Reynor, well played.
Smooth and fast are the words I'd like to use for Reynor's playstyle right there. Because, yeah, everything that he did that even was not necessarily fully successful, he just kind of smoothly and quickly transitioned out of it or had other things anyways, So it was never like, oh my gosh, he was stuck on going Roach all in, now he's screwed. Oh my gosh, he was stuck on that idea the tunneling claws are going to get every single base, now he's screwed. He just kind of did things as they came and so fluidly that even though they were being handled very well by GunGFu, they still weren't the main point. Everything else Reynor was doing was the main point. All the macros going behind it, technology, and the reinforcements that were coming in as well. So I'm sure he was a little taken aback perhaps by the amount of times GunGFu did handle things quite well, but he always had plan B, C, D, E, F, G, all that good stuff. So now we're on the final game potentially on Data C. Top right is the Red Protoss. He is GunGFuBanDa.
And spawning over in the bottom left, it is Reynor. I definitely got to give some props to GunGFu though. He's playing well this season. Even though he's 0-2 down, it doesn't feel like he's been... I almost want to say don't feel he's been massively outmatched, even though Reynor's playing really damn well. It feels like he's putting up a fight, He's making these good games, which not a lot of people can say they do that in these kind of situations. I haven't seen a win condition for him yet, which that's the bit that's scary, considering how well he's been holding on.
He's only ever getting so far, reaching so many heights. There's always that next step that just feels like, okay, you're doing well, you're doing good, but are you really going to take victory? So we'll say the first game was probably the least convincing that GunGFu had a chance, but then the second game was really, as you said it, it just proved that even if there were a couple of top tier Zergs in his group, he might have still topped it. Maybe it is about a warm-up thing. Maybe the third game, he'll fix some of the points that were just straight-up mistakes. The Colossus and the Disruptor, for instance. And that will maybe with the combination of the new map as well, actually lead him to have a kill maneuver, to have one of those moments where like, oh, Reynor is should be a little scared here. He kind of just used a bunch of banelings to throw into a fourth base, and GunGFu's now racing towards him on the other side of the map, like we saw with a laser versus Skillous on this map. I could definitely see it happening, but if Reynor were to 3-0, well, he is Reynor after all.
Absolutely is. And like I was even thinking, like, even if you put Skillous in GunGFu's shoes, would what he did against the laser work? And I'm like, no, I don't think it would. Like these tech outs of I don't want to say being stuck on Roach Ravager, but the fact that he was able to tech out of that into Lurker Viper so seamlessly, it was really nice, right? And like you can definitely tell that, as you said, he's got plans after plans, which is how it should be. Like he doesn't get stuck. But yeah, I think the only times that I've seen Reynor lose against Protosses recently is when the Protoss has done something super wacky to start things off, which so far GunGFu's throwing fairly orthodox openings at him, which, yeah, he's just been really good about defending.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that Reynor also sometimes, he will admit to himself that he just kind of played, and I'm pretty sure he's called himself a donkey before, but I can't say that. But he said, like, I didn't really consider this, or I didn't consider that, and I just kind of was playing a bit silly, and then I kind of told myself, like, what are you doing? And just, picked up from the get-go. So, yeah, even the things that catch him off guard usually don't end up killing him in a series. They just, get a couple of maps here and there. When he said, like, what he's been losing to, I did want to go back and check when's the last time he lost against Protoss, and it was, in fact, Max Pax, one of the Open Cups. Doesn't lose against Protoss too frequently, though. Yeah,
and that was Max doing a lot of the cheeky stuff as well. Like, I was casting with Kevin, and he was talking about, oh, did you see this build with Max Pax? And I was like, no. He's like, man, I can't believe you used it in a weekly. Like, that should have been the kind of build that you save for a big tournament final kind of thing. It was that good. And yeah, he was talking about all these crazy shenanigans. And then I thought back of like Classic versus Rogue at BlizzCon with the Blink DTs, on World of Sleepers and stuff. Some Protosses have some really cool builds, but so far, these builds that GunGFu's been using, they're super textbook. Like, they are some of the best builds that you have, but sometimes it feels like you do need to be just freaking crazy to get a lead against a guy like Reynor.
Mm-hmm. And, the first game was a bit maybe out of meta, a bit, but it definitely wasn't crazy. So let's see what this is, as we have, just the 2 oracles. Okay, Twilight Council and Forge.
Oh, that's such a sad oracle. Oh, my goodness.
The queens got lazy? Or they were in hold position not to trigger the stasis trap? Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, one of them does get triggered over there regardless, but... yeah, definitely not the opening that GunGFu was looking for with that oracle.
No, but this is why I was saying, like, we still have to wait and see what this is, because even though it looks like it's all humdrum, like, oh, he's going to go to Blink of +1, what's the problem? Well, there are things to do, even on 3 bases. Oh, and it's actually not what it's going to be, what I was expecting, but regardless. There are other things to do on 3 bases other than just be like, well, I'm going to go up to a 4th, right? So that's what Skillous kept doing, and it worked out for him. But I think we do need to play something a little bit unexpected, kind of just be like a little bit of a shock for Reynor. And this 3-base setup, but only 3 gases into charge, actually not Blink, is that kind of little twist that could throw Reynor off.
Definitely been annoying with these oracles too, like constantly trying to throw down stasis wards and stuff. Oh, that one in the back has to be careful. Its hull is very low. Reynor switching it up a little bit, going for the +1 melee and the lair quite quickly here.
He did not scout the lack of the 4th gas, by the way. The Overlord died just short of it. So, might be under false pretenses of what exactly this is. I mean, I'm not sure. Might be thinking that it is still Blink, even though he hasn't seen too many Stalkers warped in yet, but there's just not that many warp-ins yet. And he also might think this could be even like a high gas strategy. They'll come back in probably on the 3rd and scout those gases. But it's actually going to be quite a few charge lots. No Robo, though, so if this is going to be an attack, it'll be coming in from, downtown.
+1 finishing up as well for him very quickly. Along with Zergling melee +1. Reynor did throw up a Roach Warren. A little bit late, albeit, but that's because he didn't need it any earlier. But that makes me think that he feels that something might be a little bit weird here. Keeps on scouting, keeps on checking the gases. No gases on this outer base. So what is up, is he wondering?
Yeah. I'm a little too, actually. You do usually expect the gases to be taken. Well, certainly the first 4 gases pretty much is like, well, I want to say almost all macro builds for Protoss. But then like the 5th and the 6th, depending on the speed of that, could mean something a bit different. We could be talking about like really fast storm builds with a ton of gas very quickly. I was going to say, with this setup, you think this would just be a bunch of charge lots running down the field, but it took a little while to get there. And again, there's not going to be any fast reinforcements. So, well, Baneling's going to be perfect for this.
Yeah, even if they're slow Banelings, they're going to be perfect. And the Queens tank the damage. GunGFu started off that attack out of 109 supply, and yeah, he was supply blocked. But even if he did want more Zealots, I think against that number of Banelings, they might have just ran to their death. So his supply block kind of did him a favor. But behind it, getting the +2, getting the Blink, getting the Immortals, going for High Templar as well, most likely for Archons. He's definitely got a fallback. And it isn't like, oh no, everything went wrong. He had this plan beforehand. It's just Reynor's drone count is insane.
Yeah, it feels like... I don't know. It feels like if this was the plan from the get-go, I don't know if it's a particularly good plan. I mean, I don't want to fault it yet because it is one, hell of a good macro plan. 3 base, 4 base, a lot of probes for GunGFu as well, right? But yeah, we're going to be talking about how just Protoss kind of need technology as they go on. So we still only added on 1 gas. Yeah. Oh no, we did on. Oh, well, now coming down. Okay, now more gases are coming down, but. Yeah, that's not a lot to work with. Not going to be a lot of Archons. Not going to be getting to that Storm. Even as Blink comes in here, I would say that there could be a question mark as to how many Stalkers you can warp in with that as well, combining with Archons. So, yeah, just kind of a little different. But Reynor, more importantly, is just going foolproof. He's got nothing really to worry about. He's doing his thing.
It's kind of funny when you're like 8 minutes in and the Zerg is already rich enough to be throwing down lots of static defense. Like that's the kind of situation that he's got himself in. His creep spread is starting to get really scary now. Reynor moving on to his 5th base here, most likely going to really absorb the map. Upgrades looking good for both players, both of them opting for double Forge, double Evo as well. And GunGFu, he has to be so careful here. This Zerg army on creep is so fast and powerful. Oh!
Yes, it is. Just grabbed something in the air, Oracle, right?
Yeah.
Immortal gets its shields popped. It's also kind of alone a little bit, so Reynor's going to go ahead and take that. Well, maybe not even intentionally. Oh, he doesn't quite grab it, but he also was pulling back because of the War Prism in the main. Did just take down a Queen. Only one more Queen there. Is not going to be able to take down the War Prism, and GunGFu is going to try and combine this with a bit of an attack in the middle, I think just to clear up creep, but something, and then he realizes, okay, the time has passed. Like, I'm not even going to take down 1 creep tumor.
If GunGFu used his bank, he'd be close to maxed out, Like,
true.
He's been sat here and he's getting good upgrades and what have you. And it could be a lot of Zealots on the map, which is already a lot, but Reynor, he's macroing so well. Like his minerals, his gas, they're all low. He's still on a really healthy work account, as is GunGFu now. But yeah, GunGFu, what does he do at this point? Because Reynor, like he's taken all the punches and now he's ready to start going.
I also kind of doubt how good GunGFu's army ever really could be, just because there's such a lack of gas. We're talking about 2 Archons. We're just now getting to Storm, and they've not actually done yet. And then even again, despite it getting Blink, he can't really get that many Stalkers, as he also started his upgrades, which take a lot of that gas away. So, I feel like if they were on all 8 gases, it is that skillless scenario where he is on, at least 8 Archons. And I'm scared of 8 Archons. Maybe even more, actually. Maybe you could go up to 14 Archons like Skillus did. But now, well, it's just 2, and at least Storm will be done for this defense, but not going to be able to replace those Storms very easily. So let's see if this first engagement goes really well for GunGFu. I've got some hope. But Reynor is the one, I think, actually leading, well, he's certainly leading the charge. He's leading the game, and he is perhaps even looking for a kill move here.
Yeah, like the difference here is this army of Reynor has a massive backline with it, with the Ravagers, with the Roaches, a way bigger bank as well, way bigger eco. It's got all the static defense behind it as well. Like, this is ridiculously hard to get yourself out of this situation. Look at this army. It's 2 Archons, yeah, there's Storm, but
yeah,
there's so much brute force in this army of Reynor. I don't think GunGFu can do this.
This felt like a game where GunGFu was supposed to have a lot more Zealots, throwing them around, getting some early game engagements, not against Banelings perhaps, and then using them to harass all damn day long. But instead, we never really got to even a maxed out Protoss army, right?
No,
yeah.
No. Like, it could have been, but always had a bank. Like, even now that he's on the back foot, fighting for his life, he's still got a lot of minerals to spend. Maybe just didn't have, maybe just didn't have enough gateways with this. Like, he's on 1 robo, 8 gateways.
Oh yeah, that's not a lot.
No, like maybe this could have been one of those situations where you go full Australia style, you know, with like a good 14 or so. But 3-2 is finishing up. But it's like, hey, 3-2's finishing up, but we've got no units alive, really.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely felt like I kind of missed a part of GunGFu's plan. I'm certain that he had something in mind, and at some point it kind of had to be maneuvered around, and then things got just a little bit more twisted as the game went on. But that just means that GunGFu was kind of playing, I want to say suboptimally. Again, he probably had a plan, I'm just not sure what it was. Where Reynor was playing basically optimally. And even when he had to be concerned, you know, he did make a couple spine crawlers, he did play a little defensive for a little while, and even then, it didn't really seem to take anything away from him as he continues to just throw wave after wave at GunGFu while also once again getting up to his hive and his tier 3 upgrades.
Yeah, just if Elasa says that he didn't know what to do against Protoss, this absolutely is the series for him to watch, because at no point am I watching Reynor and seeing him get stuck. There's always a plan, an idea. He's fast, it's calculated. Once that +3 comes online with the adrenal glands as well, things just get way, way worse for GunGFu, and they're already not good for GunGFu. And yeah, he's just bullying GunGFu on his side of the map, and GunGFu's trying his best to break out. You see little run-bys at the bottom here, trying to do something, but there's just a flood of units across the map.
Yeah. This is the last group of units that we will see from GunGFu, as his bank has, well, now mostly been expended. Is there shield body overcharge even? Well, not here, so yeah, he's going to tap out. GG. Reynor will, in fact, take the 3-0. GunGFu certainly showed signs of life in the second game. In fact, that was a damn good Protoss versus Zerg. But game one, kind of, you know, not really